Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. We have spring ball is finally here. Spring ball eve. It's official. The guys get to practice tomorrow. The first practice for the new 2025 edition of the Buckeyes. It'll be interesting to see a bunch of these guys in uniform as a full team, minus all of the great seniors that we just lost to the NFL. An exciting time. We're going to break down some of the position battles, take your questions. Kind of what's the feel of the first day. They're not in pads tomorrow, so it'll be like watching paint dry, but they'll try to do as much as they can. They'll be in uppers, but they have to do their days that are what they call acclimation days. So there's not going to be any banging. So it is what it is, but we'll get to see some of these guys run around. Guys like Max Clare, Ethan Onianwa, who did some bowl practice stuff, but now he gets to be the starting left tackle. So it'll be interesting to see how they sort these guys out. What does the rotation look like? So we'll have all of that and more for you guys. As always, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell again. If you guys want to continue to help us, click on the podcast app on your iPhone, type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. That is an easy way to help us. It's a huge way to help us. You guys have been doing that. Leave us a 5-star review. We've seen that. You guys can do it on your phone, on your wife's phone, your kid's phone. Super easy, super quick. And it's been something that's been growing. Also, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere else you guys listen to your podcasts. Again, we appreciate you guys growing this. It's completely free, for the foreseeable future. So again, get in now. It's all free. And we appreciate you guys that have done that. Again, we bring you content almost daily. And it's a blast to be a part of this community. And we appreciate you guys as always. With that being said, gotta bring in my good friend Nevadabuck. Nevada, it is spring ball eve. The offseason is officially over, which is great. And there never really is an offseason on Buckeye Scoop. But now they're back to playing football, and it is officially the 2025 team taking the field tomorrow. Any thoughts as we dig into this new edition of the Ohio State football Buckeyes?
Yeah, well, we've got all the stockings hung out there on Spring Ball Eve, and it's and tomorrow's affirmation day, so it's the day that I affirm you, Kirk, and tell you, Kirk, you're great, you're wonderful, you're valuable, you're very handsome, very
Is is
cuddly.
is that a real thing?
Affirmation,
After,
yeah.
af,
Well, there's the
or
football
say
players have they
is
have
that acclamation?
they,
Did I say affirmation? Did I say acclamation? Did I say
no,
affirmation?
they have acclamation. We have affirmation here. So, like I said, I'm going to affirm you tomorrow and make sure that you're feeling nice and good and warm
Oh,
and fuzzy
well,
about it all.
tomorrow is also St. Patrick's Day, so I'm gonna be feeling real affirmed about 7:10 tomorrow night, boy. Be saying, "Oh God, not one of these shows." So it's like, no,
Oh no!
I'm
Oh
actually
no!
not. I won't be. I won't be
Oh,
sitting on the Blarney Stone all day. But no, it is. It is St. Patrick's Day tomorrow too. So the coaches can get done at noon and head over to the pub. But no. But I appreciate the affirmations. What affirmations do you have about the team this year?
well, we had some affirmations come out today from helping technician on a couple of names of guys that have really kind of won over winter workouts, and I thought it was pretty interesting because one of the names I was I mean obviously familiar with all the names, but one of them was Bryce West, great cornerback out of the Ville, Glenville in Cleveland, and really talking about how good he's looked, how competitive he is, and that out of those Glenville cornerbacks, those guys are always super competitive, super athletic. I've had some a great history of success here at Ohio State, and helping technician really thinks that he's the next great one, and I thought that was good to hear because I look, I love it when the Glenville connection is running strong and deep to Ohio State because I feel like that's been if you had to pick one high school and say what high school's been most important in terms of the success of Ohio State through the years, I mean Glenville would have to make the short list for sure, given the number of great players, the number of difference makers that have come out of that high school, and I've had a little bit of a slow run with them lately, but he had a couple of Glenville kids on there. He had Bryce West obviously, and then he had Demarion Witten, and Demarion's kind of an interesting kid because tight end in high school, wide receiver in college, but freaky athletic. I'm not, there's various things saying his height's anywhere from 6'2" to 6'4". So let's just call it 6'3", for the sake of argument, knowing that they do inflate that a little bit sometimes. But 6'3", 210, 215 pounds, big physical wide receiver, and a guy that's really shown out during the winter workouts. Another athletic kid coming out of Glenville High School, and another name to really watch out for the thing. That had been the first time that I'd seen his name mentioned anywhere, and was pretty excited about that because, like, yeah, I love the Glenville kids. I love that. I love that there's a special bond between that school and Ohio State, and I can't wait to see these kids hit the field in 2025 because lots of super talented team, but super young. So there's going to be a lot of guys that jump up and take starting spots that we haven't really been talking about, and that's just the way that it kind of works when you've got your last year all the names were pretty much penciled in. We could pretty much give you the two deep without too much deviation. This year, we can guess at it, but at the end of the day, there's going to be guys that are coming from all over the depth chart that are rising up, and these would be two names I would definitely be watching for. So Witten and West out of Glenville High School, look for them to do big things in 2025 for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I think that this cornerback room is going to be real interesting because you've got the two lockdown guys outside that we paid a bunch of money to keep. Davison, Jermaine Matthews Jr. That nickel spot is going to be incredibly competitive, and I think Bryce is going to get his turns outside, but who starts at nickel, I think, is one of the most interesting battles of camp, because you've got Lorenzo Styles Jr., who I think is the favorite just because he played a lot as the dime back. They blitzed him a lot, and they're going to give the old guy the first turn. Can he hang on to it? And he's a guy that's a conversion guy that came from receiver. Obviously he's played that before, when he was younger, but college is a different level. But I thought that, when he was in as the dime guy last year, when we had Jordan Hancock in, we always started 5 DBs. So the question is, who's the sixth guy to come on the field when we would go down? And it was Lorenzo Styles Jr. So I think that he's a guy. It's going to be really interesting to see who's the backup nickel. And who's the backup first corner? Because again, the backup first corner is almost like a starter, because you're one hamstring tweak away from being a starting corner at Ohio State, and you're playing at a position that's physical and there's a lot of running. And sometimes, like, it's something I loved that Kerry Combs used to do was he would have like 3 starting corners and they would rotate and almost all play even snaps, which I think's really smart because if you play a team that's a pass first team, or you play a lot of passing teams in a row, there's a lot of running, a lot of high volume running. And, you got to monitor these kids so they don't pull muscles. Like, I mean, Marshawn Lattimore is maybe the best corner we've had in the last, 10, 15 years. I mean, him and Denzel Ward have both made a fortune in the NFL, but Marshawn had, chronic hamstring issues, and that rotation really helped him, and he ended up going first round and signed a couple of huge extensions. I mean, our corners have been just monsters in the NFL. And I think that honestly, like, when you open up and say what high school has done the most for us, I mean, the last 20 years, there's no question it's been Glenville. I don't even think it's close, because you look at them, they've produced multiple first round picks. They've produced a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, the only Heisman winning quarterback in the Big Ten's history, mind you. And he's a black quarterback. So again, he's the guy that when you talk to a lot of these young kids, like, he was kind of a, there's Corny Greene a long time ago, but Troy's the guy a lot of these guys looked up to. And we started a run of really good athletic quarterbacks that came through here. And Troy had a big part of that, and Troy was, big history guy. I loved Corny Greene. But I love what Glenville's done. And they had a little lull for a little bit when Ted Sr. Got sick. Thank God he's recovered from his cancer scare. And they're back to being just a juggernaut, a powerhouse. Ted Jr. is really involved there now. Little Teddy's like my brother, love him to death. So I'm just excited for some of these guys. I mean, they got some monsters coming with. We got Arvell, but they got Sincere, the linebacker. They've got guys that are just really, really, really talented, and they're back to getting all of the best kids in Cleveland to come there, which again, it's good. Again, I think Ted Sr. is one of the most underrated coaches in Ohio history, and I was glad that he won his state championship, and he's done a lot for a lot of those kids, and I'm glad Ted Jr. is up there too. So that pipeline needs to keep rolling, man, because they've brought in so not just some of the best players, some of the best kids. I was wrong. Like, I mean, I love Bryant Browning. He does a great job with Chimdi Chekwa on his show. I love, obviously, I love Troy. I love Teddy. But those kids are always really competitive, really tough, and they're just plus guys to the program. So keep that pipeline flowing, please. Something I'm really excited about, obviously, is the offensive line, because this is the nature of the beast. But a lot of turnover. I mean, obviously, both tackles are off to the NFL. Justin Fry off to the NFL as well. I don't believe Tim Drevno is back. You got the new trio of line coaches led by Tyler Bowen. And you also have the new tackles. And it'll be interesting to see, with Tyler Bowen and the whole offensive line staff returning, I would think that the first day, the first snap, that the two tackles that you paid are the first team tackles, because again, there's no returners of note. I mean, not only did we lose our top two tackles, we lost our top two backups. So we lost George Fitzpatrick, we lost Zen Mikulski. So our top four tackles essentially are gone. So now it's Ian Moore battling with Philip Daniels on the right side. Ethan Oniano is going to be starting left tackle, but does he start off day one as the starting left tackle? Do they put someone else there? I don't know who they'd put there, but you got to remember Josh Simmons, when he started fall camp 2 years ago, he started off as the third string, right tackle the first day of drills. And then he worked up to the twos, and he worked up to the ones. And now he's a top 10 pick, top 15 pick, depending on, who's picking where. But what are your thoughts on it? Because again, the O-line is going to be fascinating to me, because I think that this could be the deepest line we've had. I think Ethan Oniano was going to be a star left tackle. He's lost weight. He's lost fat. Mickey, cracked the whip on those two, because they weren't in, Ohio State football first round tackle caliber shape. And again, it's hard when you follow Paris Johnson and Josh Simmons, because the standard has never been higher at left tackle, other than when Orlando Pace left. But I mean, for two straight first rounders to be sitting in that spot, and then you're the next guy, it's a big challenge. But good winner, and they got acclimated. It was tough. There were some tough days for some of them, especially the younger ones, especially for Philip Daniels during the mat drills. But I think that they're cranking along. What are your thoughts on that? Because that's probably as intriguing of a crew as there is to me, and how do they work out the rotations, the dynamics of that room?
Well, I just, and this is going to sound crazy, but I've been known to make some crazy statements here, but I just wonder if even for a minute that they're going to try Tegra at tackle. And I know that sounds crazy, but you've got your four interior guys. He's been a good soldier sharing those guard positions. You and I both know that he's long coveted being a tackle. Would they try him out there? Would they try him out there early in the spring just to kind of see what he can do? As again, keep in mind, these are all efforts to keep kids as part of the program, because you've got a second portal window opening up in the spring. And do you want anybody leaving? Do you want to kind of keep the dream alive? I don't know. That just, like I said, and that may be crazy, but I just wonder if they'll do that to at least kind of throw him a bone out there, dude, or if he's satisfied and locked in at the guard spot, and he's locked in with this rotation, because you're not going to stop rotating. You've got three guys that have proven that they're worthy to start in Luke, Austin, and Integra. So and Carson's got the center job, on lockdown right now. So I just wondered if they might kick him out there just to kind of throw him a bone, see what he can do. Maybe that's craziness. Maybe they're happy with what they can get out of Ian Moore, and Daniels and Ethan. But I just have a thought that they might do that. They might mix some things up, try some guys at different positions that they'd kind of done a few springs ago. I know this is and falls ago. I know this is spring, but that'll be something that'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye on in terms of do it. But I totally agree with you. We've got amazing depth on the offensive line, considering that how difficult it is to build depth, because we've lost guys off the team through the portal to other schools. So you think about the kind of depth we'd have if you had a George Fitzpatrick back, if you had a the name's escaping me right now.
Zen
The
Mikulski.
Zan Mikulski, if you had him back, I mean, then you'd have 10 active guys on the offensive line. But I think Ohio State's done as good a job in terms of managing depth on the offensive line in a very, very difficult position to do that, to keep guys happy, to keep guys motivated, to keep guys out of the portal and away from the poaching eyes of other schools. They've built some real quality depth. Now, can they hold it through the second portal season? Always something else to think about and be concerned about. But I think Ohio State's done a great job, and it will be one of the great battles of the spring to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think that you have to foster some sort of competition, even with Ethan. I mean, who's we paid a boatload of money to come here. So again, it's with the NIL stuff, it's a lot different than with a guy just transferring in because again, when guys get a certain amount of money, they're gonna start period. Like Max Clare is going to be our starting tight end. He might not be the first snap of the first rep tomorrow. They might give that to Will Kazmarek or Bennett Christian or just for the culture of the room, whatever. But once the talent comes to the forefront, like Max is gonna be a starting tight end and he's gonna get the most reps. And same with Ethan Onyanwa. But I think that again, if you want to look at a case study on versatility, do you play Austin Sarveld at tackle some? I would. Just because, look, if Ethan Onyanwa gets hurt, what is your best five? Is your best five to put Luke and Tigra inside and Austin out at tackle? Because Austin played a lot of tackle last year late in the season in bowl practice and whatever. Because, again, if Donnie would have gotten hurt last year, is Zen the best move? Is it put Austin in? Because again, when you've got that 4-man rotation on the interior, specifically the 3 guards in the 2 spots rotation, you have to build depth. And I know that people that don't understand offensive line play like to be not very bright or intelligent, but offensive line is offensive line. When you go to Ohio State, you're an offensive lineman. You're not a tackle. You're not a guard. You're not a center. Now, if you're 6'2", you're probably only a center, and we don't take many of those. But most of the guys we take are 6'4"-ish, and that's big enough to play tackle. How do I know? Because I did it. Donnie Jackson did it. Josh Simmons did it. So Rob Sims was 6'2.5", and he played left tackle and won a national title. Donnie did the same thing at 6'4". So go look at the combine measurements. Our tackles aren't, everyone thinks that they have to be 6'9" or 6'8", and I was like, that's Taylor Decker, but that's not very often. So you have to figure out who are the best 5, and does somebody have to change a position? And again, I always go back to 2021 when a lot of the people that aren't quite as astute that work the Ohio State media talked about how we played 4 tackles. And I was like, no, we played our 5 best guys by far. We played 5 NFL guys, and we left Matt Jones on the bench. Nothing against Matt Jones. Nice kid, nice player, not an NFL guy. So if you put him in the lineup, then you have to bench Thayer, who's an NFL guy, or Paris, who's an NFL guy. Obviously, Luke Whippler was already in at center, and our 2 guards are both NFL tackles. So it's just finding the right position, and 2 guys had to make sacrifices. Paris Johnson had to play right guard, which you don't normally do to a guy who's a top 5-ish, 6-ish pick in the NFL draft at left tackle. And Thayer had to play left guard. Because Dewan could not play guard. He's too big. And Nick Petit was our best tackle at that time. And he was, Paris was a bigger, stronger athlete who could kick it and play guard for a year. Now, again, people say, well, that's stupid and that's dumb. And Stud is dumb and Ryan Day is dumb and everybody's dumb because we played a top 6 player at guard. But the way I look at it is I'm like, look, Jonathan Ogden, if he's not the best tackle that ever lived, he's in the top 3. And his rookie season, when he was a 6'9", 350-pound top 5 pick in the NFL, he played guard because they had Tony Jones and Orlando Brown. They had 2 exceptional Pro Bowl level tackles. So they put J.O., who was, first ballot Hall of Famer monster. They played him at guard. So again, if a 6'9", 350-pound first ballot Hall of Famer can play guard for a year, then so can Paris. And then Paris kicked off the tackle, did a great job. And based upon what these guys are signing for in free agency, Paris will sign for $120 million when he comes up in like 2 years, because there's guys that are just not very good players that are signing for 20 million a year, and Paris is a very good player, so he'll be 30-ish million a year when he comes up. Nevada, obviously the quarterback is the most important player on the team. Julian Sain looks great. New visuals of him have come out. He looks stout. He's gained weight. He's at the front of the line in the drills. He's trying to become the leader. I think he has to become the leader. What's your thought on what you expect out of Julian this spring? What does he need to do? What does he need to do to improve? What would you like to see out of Julian Sain this spring ball?
Well, we already saw a piece of it. We were looking for a body transformation to be a little bit, bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit sturdier, and he's definitely done that. And that's a very good size. Because frankly, I thought the only knock on Julian, in my view, was can he handle the rigors and the physical punishment that comes with being a quarterback in the Big Ten in general, and at Ohio State in particular, because I know that Ryan Day now has kind of seen the light. He's kind of got religion when it comes to, hey, running the quarterback opportunistically can be a good thing. So I think he's kind of got the memo on that one, and two, when you do that, you put your quarterback a little bit in harm's way. And so I think he's physically got it from a throwing perspective. It's kind of funny because they'll post videos of him doing some off platform throws or some of the famous Mahomes arm angle stuff, and people will kind of freak out and be like, he never throws with his feet on the ground. It's like, no, if you just throw with his feet on the ground, that's not the stuff you put on TikTok or whatever it is. So this is a guy who's got a very live arm, got a very, he in everything about his throwing motion, his velocity, his quickness. He's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's who he is. I mean, he gets the ball out quickly. The ball just kind of explodes out of his hand. And now he's put on some weight. He's got kind of a little bit of a bigger base, a little bit of a sturdier frame. And, I just want to see him, take control of the offense, let the guys know that he's the alpha, that he's the guy that they can depend on there for 2025. And it's a big thing to ask a guy to come in. It was a big thing to ask CJ, but CJ Stroud was able to come in right off the bat and perform at a very high level. Not as good as he was when he left, but certainly better than most guys when he starts. And I expect Julian to do the same thing. This is a very high level kid. This is a kid who's been coached up really well since he was 6 years old to play the quarterback position. Was in a extreme talent in high school, at a very prolific passing offense. A legendary 7-on-7 player. So this is a kid who can throw the football. Very, very smart kid, and from a very, very smart family. His brother and sister are both super academic. Really, really smart kids. He's a smart guy. I mean, he might be the fastest processing, smartest quarterback that we've ever had. If he's not the fastest, he's up there amongst the elite. So this guy is a fast processor who can see things, recognize them, and figure out what the defense is trying to do to us. And when you combine that with great training, a live arm, the only thing he's not blessed with, he's not 6'6", but he can wing the ball around. A little bit of a different quarterback visually, but going to be very effective at Ohio State. And I just want to see him come in there and get comfortable running the offense, not get frazzled by anything that's going up against him. But I think he's going to be terrific.
So you're telling me you don't put these ones where he does like the 360 and throws it down the field. You don't put that on, like, that's not a real throw. Like when he's like doing like off platform, sideways, like sidearm, like here it is like a 360. So you're telling me like people are mad about that.
Yeah, people are mad. They're like, he never throws with his feet on the ground, and it's like he's just doing a TikTok thing, man. It's like, no, he's this is a kid who's got a very live arm. And it's funny because I was going back at kind of a related but different topic. I was going back and I was reading the story of how Aaron Rodgers fell from 1 to 22 or 24 or whatever it was. A very famous free fall in the first round. And what the biggest knock on Rodgers was? It was his arm. Of all things, his arm. And like, I mean, he's one of the great throwers that's ever. I mean, when he was on in the NFL, I mean, he might have been the greatest thrower that's ever been. And his arm was like, just so accurate and so much velocity and could make every type of throw. But that was the knock on it, was his arm. So, I mean, go figure.
Well, and the funny thing is like Alex Smith, who I played with in San Francisco, like he didn't have some sort of a like bazooka. I mean, nobody ever was like, look at Alex Smith with his like cannon of an arm. I think arm talent is important, but I think that there's only like a certain level you need to have to be successful in the NFL. I think that your accuracy, your ability to read defenses and study and mannerisms and know where to go with the ball, pre-snap, post-snap, I think that's a billion times more important. Because again, like, you look at who's had in the last 25 years, who's had the best arm to ever come out of college? It's Jamarcus Russell, and Achilles Smith, like guys like that they're just like, oh my God, we've never seen anybody throw like those guys. And it's like the arm strength is just like, I mean, like, I don't know. It's like being a good dunker in the NBA or something. Like, oh, he's got the strongest arm ever. Yeah, it's like being able to hit like a 360. It's like being Jamario Moon or the little white dude that wins the slam dunk thing every year. That's in like he plays in like the WNBA or whatever. Like it's just not like arm strength. Like I said, it's great, but accuracy, touch, like whatever Will Howard had this year is like what I want. Like I want a guy that can drop the ball wherever he wants it and throw it with touch. And honestly, like the thing I like about Julian saying practicing off platform throws is because any idiot can sit there with his feet set in a perfect pocket and zing it all over the place. Like, can you do it when there's a guy chasing you and you have to fade away and throw it, and throw a dart across the field for a touchdown? Because again, I like seeing what do guys do when the pocket breaks down, because when you play good teams, the pocket is going to break down. If you play, Grambling, I mean, you're not going to see any pass rush all day. So yeah, you can sit there with your feet planted and throw for 400 yards and no one's going to ever breathe on you. But when you play like real teams, especially like in the NFL, man, it's like the great quarterbacks in the NFL, they deal with just horrifically bad pockets because again, you're one injury away from your all pro left tackle, like Trent Williams being out for the season, and you've got a practice squatter playing left tackle the next week versus Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, and it looks ugly. So you better be able to throw on the move, off platform, moving away from pressure. Really what a lot of that was is it looked like he was moving away from like a zero pressure, and a zero pressure is an all out blitz where they're bringing one more than you can block, and you got to literally kind of fade away from wherever the free rush is. You have to fade away from it and make the throw. So that's what it looked like. So again, practicing that, like that's like the hard stuff that makes a quarterback great, is when he can do that with muscle memory. And again, like that's what's important to me. Because again, I'm just such a fan of accuracy. I think toughness is really underrated for quarterbacks. Now, again, but you have to have the requisite arm strength. You can't be, again, I don't want to bang on Tim Tebow because he's one of the greatest college players ever, but like, his accuracy just wasn't there for the professional level. But tough as nails, had all the other attributes you could ever dream of, but couldn't throw. But it didn't have anything to do with his arm strength. It had to do with his accuracy and his touch. In terms of the running back situation, I think that is going to be something fascinating. I had a really nice little note about CJ Donaldson. It's going to be interesting to see what he does from West Virginia. I'm really excited to see his what he brings to the table with James Peoples. Nevada, the receiver room, I think, is set. The third spot is going to be very interesting to see. Brandon Ennis is the heavy favorite to be our number 3 receiver. But Mylan Graham is right there. Bryson Rogers is trying to overtake them. But like, what other skill guys are you interested to hear about over these next few weeks?
Well, you mentioned CJ Donaldson. It's funny because I just have not had any intel on him hard at all. So I'm as eager to see him as anybody because, I've got him penciled in, obviously it's the number 2 back, but I'm not expecting great things out of him. And if he can be good or really good, that would be a great surprise. And that would be something that I'd love to see in spring ball for him to show some some flashes of that, because we kind of knew last year with Quinshawn that we had some, first team all SEC running back coming to Ohio State. There was no question about that. But with Donaldson, I think there's, a few more questions, but they were excited to get him. Obviously had some good games in college, tough runner. I'm just looking to see, I'm really looking forward to seeing him, because we're going to need, any more in today's college football. College football is not 10 games anymore. It's not 12 games anymore. It's 16 or 17 games. And with that, you need to have two quality running backs, minimum two quality running backs. So right now we've got James Peoples, who's completely untested, but supremely talented, and we're pretty excited about him. You've got Bo Jackson, who's fantastic, but coming off of pretty significant injury in senior year in high school, and then you've got Donaldson. So I think Donaldson's a big part of the 2020, a guy that probably we don't talk about enough. And I really want to see what he does in the spring, and obviously, through summer and then into the fall, because I think we need him to be good. I think he's going to be good, but I want to see him be good, because to me, it's our biggest question mark on the offensive side of the ball, other than, quarterback, where we've got to see it from Julian. But we need that second running back to be good, because every other position, I think we've pretty much got on lockdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna toss on. I'm gonna toss on some Sam Greer while we talk about him. But yeah, Sam's gonna visit tomorrow. He is a monstrous left tackle. And I always love when we have Hoban kids, because they've got like this drone cam that's like flying overhead the stadium. So like you get these like, it's like they have the Goodyear blimp Spirit of Hoban like floating over the stadium when you get some of these. I think this has got to be from a drone, right? Like, you see how high this is in Nevada?
Yeah, I think that's probably a hot air balloon. I'm thinking it's from
A
like a
hot air balloon.
Zeppelin or something like that, like like the Hindenburg or something like that.
Hoban,
So the the
Hoban,
the
they
Hoban
pat,
the Hoban
they
Hinden
pat, they pass around the offering tray on Sunday and say, "Hey, we need some gas for the Hindenburg to float around, so we can get our
exactly right.
we can get our blimp cam of our offensive players and defensive players." But no, he's a good looking kid. He'll be in town. There's gonna be a ton of kids. Champ Smith is coming from Georgia. There's a lot of kids are coming in to see this first practice. I I get they want to be at the first one, but God bless, man, to come all the way down here to see guys practice with no pads it is like watching paint dry. I feel bad because there's no contact. It's just like, but it'll be competitive, and the guys will be all juiced up and excited because like that first spring ball, when you know that you don't have to hit anybody and your body's not going to feel terrible. Like it's pretty easy to run around and be excited and look sweet, because nobody hits anybody, so it's not really football. But they're gonna be there. They're gonna be excited. It'll be great. But yeah, he's a good looking kid. He's gargantuan. He's like 6'7", probably like 320. He's raw as the day is long, but he's got some upside, and he's really well coached. I mean, Hoban does a great job with their kids. But he's got a lot of upside, especially once he starts becoming a pure football player. He's a nice basketball player, which I love that, because I love these guys running around on the hardwood in the winter. Keeps him in shape. But I like this kid. I mean, he's the best tackle in Ohio. Easily. He's big time tackle. But I love watching his tape, and figured I'd toss this on here. But yeah, I think that as we get into this practice, it'll be fascinating to see some of the rotations at the third wide receiver, the first and second tight end, the running backs is going to be interesting. So I think that Bo Jackson has a chance to get a ton of work. And I think that he's a guy that, if you have a huge opportunity and you take advantage of it, then you might steal someone's job, or you might steal some carries, or you might make a name for yourself. And for a guy like Bo Jackson, if I was talking to him, I'd say, look, dude, get on special teams, get on every special team, get on kickoff, get on punt, get on all those, especially in spring. Because if you go bang and go hard in those, then you'll get more carries when the season starts. And that's just how it's always been at Ohio State. And every young skill person should fight like crazy to get on special teams, and don't make it a chore. Don't make it, like it's something that only the servants should be doing. Like it's got, like real players go play special teams. if they can. Now, if you're an offensive lineman, you don't have a choice because you're not going to be on it anyways. But everybody else should try to get on that stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to see, you know, the new gelling of the offensive coaches. Obviously, they're probably not going to be doing call it this early because they'll be doing day one installation stuff. So everything will be scripted. So Brian Hartline won't be calling plays versus Matt Patricia, but in like a week or so, like when we get into scrimmaging, like they'll have some times where they move the field and it's Brian Hartline calling it versus Matt Patricia, and I think that'll be really exciting. I think that seeing what Matt adds to the defense, to put his own spin on it, will be very exciting because I think that he's a guy that like again, when we hired him, and there were actually people that thought that was a bad hire. I didn't have words. And again, trust me, our defense is not going to be anywhere near as good as it was last year. It's not. We're not anywhere near as talented as we were last year. We're not as experienced as we were last year. There's going to be more growing pains. There's going to be more hiccups. There's going to be more adversity, whatever. So, if our defense isn't as good as last year when it was number one in the nation under Jim Knowles, then I'll be like, yeah, because even if Jim was back, we still wouldn't be as good because the players aren't as good. But I'm so excited to see what Matt Patricia does to fix that. And again, I'm sure that there's going to be this undercurrent of people in the Woody Hayes, players, coaches, whatever. That'll be the easy drum beat. That'll be the easy thing to beat on all off season, all summer. Is that, hey, all of these people, not just Kirk, like every national pundit and everyone else in the world is going to say Ohio State's going to be a little bit down this year, even though we're preseason number one. So you're not that far down, but like I'm just talking statistically, I don't think we'll be as dominant as we were last year, which is a very easy call. That's a very chalky call to make. But Nevada, what are your thoughts on Matt Patricia and the defense? Because again, I loved the hire. I think that he's a guy that shows up and pushes the whole staff, as opposed to the other, thought where a lot of, local media people were projecting Tim Walton and Matt Gurley as coordinators. Like, as great as that was, you get to keep both those guys, and you get to bring in a guy who's won Super Bowls and is a schematic genius, in my opinion, an innovator, and a guy that worked for Bill Belichick for 20 years. So you kind of got the best of both worlds. And I thought Ryan Day played that epically, like literally perfectly. But what are your thoughts on what Matt Patricia can bring to this defense and some of the variances that we could see?
Well, I think the most important thing that Matt Patricia brings is that he will be the official whipping boy for the Ohio State fan base and for the media for 2025, because you need one. There needs to be somebody that people can direct their ire at. And it's not going to be able to, you go to the staff and you got to go, okay, Ryan Day, nope, Ryan's got a pass. Ryan's got that big old pass called the 2024 National Championship that he's going to be able to carry around pretty much for the rest of his career at Ohio State. Some people say that it'll last a couple years, 3 years, 5 years. I think it's pretty much a legacy building event for him. So you can't go at him, can't go at Hartline because he is the recruiter extraordinaire, and so that will all get played here. Ohio kid, high school kid, NFL player, and maybe the best recruiter in all of college football. So can't go at him, and so who you going to go after? It's got to be Patricia. I think that they've already kind of put the target on him, and as you said, he's going to be an easy mark this year because the defense can't possibly be as good, or they're not going to improve on number one. They can't go from number one to number 0. I mean, last year's defense might have been let's just say the most efficient defense in the history of college football. I don't know if they're the best, but in terms of putting up the numbers that they did, the stats they did in the context of the schedule that they played, it's the best defense that I've ever seen. I don't know if they'll have the most players, in the NFL. These guys are going to whatever it was, the combination of talent, coordination, scheme, experience, whatever it was, that was the best defense I've ever seen. Certainly at Ohio State, maybe in college football. So it's going to be a step back, and I think I think that's going to be really interesting to just kind of see when they, how early, how much of a honeymoon does Patricia get with the fan base, with the media, and how quickly do people start going at him because they can't go at other places. I think. I mean, how long do you think it is before you see the first like fire Patricia stuff?
Oh,
Like the first game,
first quarter of the Texas game,
first quarter of the Texas
easily.
game. Okay.
When
Yeah.
Arch
Okay.
scores that first touchdown, it's over. I mean, and again,
Okay.
they'll turn on Brian Hartline, and they'll turn on and Tyler Bone. I mean, he doesn't get any because he's new here. But I'm saying, like, in my history of being the Ohio State resident historian for 25 years, I mean, if you're the O-line coach, the offensive coordinator, or the D-line coach, and then even the head coach, because the Ryan Day that shine will it'll be gone after about the first drive of the Texas game. They'll all be hated, and they'll all be vilified again, from Jim Bowman to Tom Herman to Tim Beck to Ryan Day to whoever, like whoever our OC is, man. It is Kevin Wilson. I mean,
Well,
we wanted to
hold on.
we wanted to fire
hold
Chip
on.
Kelly last year at the end of the season, and he makes $6 million a year to be the highest paid coordinator in the history of football.
Let me ask you though. Let me ask you though. This is we have not. This is not a scripted bit, so we haven't talked about this before. And I want your unvarnished answer on this, okay? Because quarterbacks at Ohio State fall into two categories: either loved or hated. And it doesn't matter having to do with how good they were or whatever. Because J.T. Barrett was hated at Ohio State, and he was a really good quarterback. Will Howard was, I mean, maybe the best quarterback ever. Hated. C.J. Stroud never won a thing. Loved. They love C.J. Stroud. Justin Fields loved. You know what I mean? Like, so you're either fall in one bucket. So Julian's saying loved or hated. What do you think? Final answer.
God. I mean, I want to say hated just because he's 5-star. He's California. He's quiet. Like which again, all of that is like the same as CJ Stroud. So CJ was a 4-star, but like, will he win anything? And the only way that you can erase like winning is if you're just a really high pick. If you're the second pick in the draft, then you don't have to win anything, and you'll still be beloved, and then it wasn't your fault. But I think that, again, like the amount of people that hate JT Barrett, it's honestly, it's sad because he is one of the nicest human beings you could ever meet. He was a vicious competitor. He's the first guy, like if you're doing like a foxhole draft pick of all time Ohio State players, he's like the first pick in the draft. Like, who do I want in the foxhole with me? JT. Like, I'd take him over anybody. Tough as nails. Killing it in the NFL. I mean, he's the quarterback coach for the Chicago Bears now. Under the guy that was the hottest assistant in football last year, Ben Johnson, who's now the head coach at for the Bears, came from the Lions. Again, it's perplexing. It's sad. Like I people love Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul. Obviously tragic ending to his life, but again, it's almost like if you put up numbers but you don't really win, then it doesn't really matter. It's like, I mean, like people, like, honestly, there's a lot of people don't like Troy, and Troy carried this program on his back. And we just had a terrible end. We had a bad time to have a bad time that night. But Troy's a guy that, like, I mean, he should have a statue of him built outside the stadium for what he did. I mean, you guys remember what our offense used to look like. I mean, you remember what it looked like after Troy left, and before Troy got there, it wasn't much to look at. But people love Craig. Like, they love Craig Krenzel, and like, I mean, Craig Krenzel, great dude, was teammates with him for a year. They love Craig. They hate JT. They hate Will Howard. Love Craig Krenzel. Craig beat the Hurricanes. Again, if you go look at the statistics, it's just it's funny. Hey, it's just real. It's just numbers. But I don't know, man. I mean, Julian, because I think the hard part is like, you have to look at where we were last year. We had 2,000-yard receivers with Emeka and JJ, 2,000-yard running backs. Obviously, we played 16 games. We had Chip Kelly calling the plays. So will there be regression statistically across the board? Yes. Chip Kelly has left the building. Brian Hartline is a first-time play caller. And Brian's 38, 39 years old. Like, he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's it's go time for Brian in his career. If he wants to become a big time head coach one day, which he does, like it's go time. He's got a loaded roster, preseason number one. We have to open up with Texas, who's going to have a bone to pick with us after that we knocked them out of the playoffs and ended their national championship run. And they've had to deal with the lashings from their fan base and the sack, the Scoop and Sawyer, like they had to live that in reverse. They didn't get to all the joy and jubilee that we got. They got the how could that happen to our first round tackle and our Quinn, who's their golden child, sacks it and burps it up. And so I don't know, but I think that the quarterback phenomenon is crazy because
no, but you didn't get an answer. Come on, loved or hated?
I told you, hated.
You're going with hated. You're going with hated. Okay,
absolutely. And again, I'm not trying to go negative. I'm just trying to say, look, he has, but it's I mean, well, we'll wind this back in 3 years, and if I'm wrong, let's place a bet on it. Will he be beloved or hated? You want to do it? I'll do it. Do you really think Julian Sayin is going to be beloved by the fan base?
No, I think it's going to be hated. I mean,
because again, he has to follow up a guy who had the best season in school history, who also had the best running backs we've ever had, the best offensive coordinator we've ever had, along with the best defense that we've ever had. Probably the best Ohio State team we've ever had.
No, hold on. It's the best team with the best receivers and the best thing.
Running backs.
They won the
running backs.
And they won the national championship. And Will Howard was still hated. So it's and Will Howard never said a bad. I mean, Will Howard was
he was the greatest teammate ever. Every media thing he did, he couldn't have been more polite and kind and friendly. And you're like, damn, that guy's a great representative of Ohio State. And there's a big thing with this fan base that just hates him because he's not going to be a high draft pick. He's not. Probably gonna be a third or fourth round pick. So it's because of that, then he's not any good.
Not OSU California.
I'm telling you, Troy Smith was like a 6th round pick, and he is my favorite teammate ever. Won the Heisman, was Mr. I mean, until the thing I hate about the Florida game the most, other than obviously it sucks to lose the national championship, but that affected Troy in a way that it's unspeakable what it did to his legacy because he was the best big game quarterback in history before that game. When we had him out there for the whole game in 05 Texas, he gets to play the whole game, but every other game at Penn State, 1 versus 2 Michigan, he was the best player on the field every time, and he doesn't get the love that he deserves, in my opinion. Now, again, I could just be blinders on or whatever, but you can kind of feel it. You look at JT, what JT did was, he was played hurt. He had a grade 3 MCL sprain and played through it and dragging his knee on the ground versus Penn State. And so he shouldn't have played and wins the game, guts it out. And I'm like, that's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen, given the amount of pain that he was in. No credit at all. Just can we get another guy in there, please? So I don't know. Honestly, this is a great question because we could go on this for 20 minutes because I just I don't know what Will Howard did to people to make people not like him, other than he got beat out at Kansas State allegedly, according to some Kansas State insider. So he got beat out at Kansas State, but Ryan Day staked his entire coaching career on him. That's what he did. Because Ryan had this loaded team.
Jettison a starter.
Jettison's a potential late 1st round pick in the NFL draft. Sends him to Syracuse. A guy that, his teammates liked Kyle McCord a lot. I talked to people, they're just he's not a bad kid. We really like him. And, that was not an easy Kyle McCord's going to get drafted ahead of Will Howard in the draft this year. That's in ink. Yep. You can bet that. And it's so, for Ryan to do that because he wasn't convinced that Kyle McCord could win the big ring the way Will Howard could because of, again, his legs, his moxie, his toughness, all things that I don't think Kyle really, has. That was again, I love Ryan has the biggest balls of any Ohio State coach I think I've ever been around, because the fact that he he did that, we're going to look back at that and say he jettisoned a potential 1st round quarterback to go and get and disrupted the whole locker room to go get a kid from Kansas State who people said couldn't start or was going to get beat up by a freshman or whatever. And he had enough, fortitude in his evaluation to make that call and do that. And then it's like he got dealt like a royal flush and won the national championship. I don't know. It's one of those things where you look back at it and it's crazy when you think about it. But again, like Will Howard is a kid that I couldn't wish for better things to happen to a kid than that kid. Cause I thought that the way he led the team, the way that he was calm, the way that he had this like thing about him where it's like they'd show him on the sideline. Cause every time, like with Ohio State, every time a team scores on us when it's tight, end of the Oregon game, the first thing they do is they pan the quarterback to Kyle, or excuse me, to Will, to the quarterback on the sideline. And is he scared? Is he worried? Is he depressed? It's like, no, like Will Howard is like, all right, let's go. It's our turn. Let's go score. Let's go win. Let's go do whatever. And I saw that and I was like, I love this kid. Like I was like, and he got out there, man, and he was this close to beating Oregon in Alton. And we lost. And again, at the time I said that might be the best thing that ever happens to us is losing that game by 1 point. Cause I don't think we're gonna get penalized too bad for it. And it turns out when we saw those guys again, it was the best thing that ever happened to us because our guys wanted to get back badly. And Oregon's guys were fat and satisfied. They were the #1 overall seed. They had the entire student body and all the donors and all the fans, everybody saying how great they were. And, oh, you guys are going to win the Natty. And, oh, we're going to the Rose Bowl. It's going to be great. You get to beat Ohio State again. And Ohio State showed up with bad intentions. So again, like when you take a loss like that, man, if you, in this extended playoff, man, if you can formulate that, and again, the Michigan one was the same thing. Like the Michigan one kind of recalibrated the offense, the Oregon game recalibrated the defense, and, they got everything tuned up and they went on the greatest run in school history. So I don't know, but yeah, again, and I don't like saying that about Julian, but I know our fan base too well. Again, like, it's like when I say, like, Brian Hartline, now that he's the coordinator, like, it's not going to be, hey, there's our smooth talking, jive talking wide receiver recruiting dude. It's going to be, oh, he made a bad call on 3rd down. Let's can him. He's not ready. Like, I mean, this is, again, you gotta remember where we were after the Michigan game. We wanted to fire Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, and Jim Knowles. Highest, Ryan has got like $100 million extension. Chip's the highest paid NFL coordinator in history, and Jim Knowles is the highest paid coordinator in college history. And everybody wanted all 3 of them fired, gone to the gulag.
But to our credit, they hated Will Howard after the Michigan game, and they still hate him after the national championship. So
I will say they aren't consistent, man. Oh God.
Will, poor Will.
Our boy.
Will should have a statue. That kid is like the perfect kid. Like never said anything wrong. Always does the right thing. Always leading from the front. Does stuff, and they just hate him. He shows up and the whole team loves him. He's not named a captain, even though again I get the guys that name captain, but it's like, but he's the unquestioned leader of the team. He shows up for 1 year to lead a bunch. He doesn't show up to a bunch of juniors and sophomores. He shows up to maybe the best senior class in school history, and then it becomes their unquestioned leader. Like he's like the ultimate alpha. So I don't know, but like I said, I can't wish better things to happen for anybody than for. I hope he goes to a great program in the league, and he grows and he keeps getting better and he gets a shot and he becomes a starter and makes a good $1 jillion. Because like again, you see what even backup quarterbacks make in the league, and he could be a starter. Like he gets to the right spot, man. He could be real good. So, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I wish it wasn't so predictable, but it is. And again, I get 25 years of history, man. Name every offensive coordinator we've had since Jim Tressel showed up in 2001. And you'll say, well, they hated Tom Herman. Tom Herman ends up being the head coach at Texas. So that's where he ended up in 2 years after he left. And then they hated, I mean, obviously, Kerry Combs, totally get it. Hadn't called defenses before. Ryan kind of panicked there. So he earned that one. But God, they hated Luke Fickell. They hated Chris Ash. I mean, the only guy they didn't hate was Halfley because he was only here for 1 year. Because he saw that after that 19 unit left, that he's like, oh God, we're not gonna have Chase Young next year, and we're not gonna have Okuda and Jordan Fuller, and like he saw the mass exodus that was coming. He's like, yeah,
I'm going to get out of here while the getting's good. I'm going to go take this head coaching job after 1 year, which again, can't fault a guy for taking a head coaching job after one season. Usually Ryan Day or Urban wants them to get 2 years out of it. But, if Chip Kelly gets offered $6 million to go coach in Vegas, like there's worse lives to work for Pete Carroll. Like there's worse lives to live than that. So, but that was a great question. Like seriously, and again, I don't want Julian Sand to be hated. I love Julian Sand. I watched his tape. When we got him last year, I thought that was one of the greatest coups of all time when Nick Saban leaves and we get Caleb Downs, Julian Sand, and Seth McLaughlin. We pilfered literally 2 All-Americans and the number 1 quarterback in the country. And so I'm like, that's like the greatest thing of all time. And again, I hope Julian Sand throws for 5,000 yards since the first pick in the draft. But I'm just telling you, the bar, not only is the bar high to be beloved as an Ohio State quarterback, but it isn't like something that you can just like tangibly like measure. Like if you win a national title, they'll love you. Well, they don't love Will Howard. Or if you throw for this many yards or you win the Heisman, they'll love you. Well, I mean, and again, a lot of people love Troy Smith. There's a lot of people who don't like Troy Smith for whatever reason. Or if you win all these silver footballs, then a lot of people don't like JT Barrett. If you beat Michigan every time, a lot of people still don't like JT Barrett. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It is a strange deal to be the Ohio State court. But again, it's the same as being the coordinators. Like again, Matt Patricia will be the whipping boy this year. And again, I think he could do a fantastic job for the amount of talent that we have back. And again, like we are razor thin on the D line this year. Like we've lost a lot of talent on that D line. We need a lot of these young guys to step up. Linebacker group is really good. Our DBs are really good. Despite losing, 3 starters in the back end, like we've got a lot of good young talent. But they're not on the level of last year. I mean, we had, with the Sawyers and Jordan Hancock and some of these guys. And I think Lathan was criminally underrated. Cody Simon is one of the most underrated players in the history of the school. Like if you look at like the number of awards that he won last year, like I think he was only on one of the all Big Ten teams. Like he didn't make media and coaches, which is insane. It wasn't a Butkus final. I'm just stupid what they did to that kid, because he should have been a first team All-American in my opinion, especially how he played down the stretch and the pressure that he brought in the blitz game. Oh my God. So, well, we got a couple super chats, Nevada. Anything else before we get into this?
No, that was a great segment. Loved or hate it. We'll play that segment from time to time. We'll do the loved or hate it. You got to.
Oh God, I'll play it after the Texas game.
Oh,
Kirk, do they hate Matt Patricia, Julian Sand, and Brian Hartline? Well, because the problem is, even if we win, they'll still be mad. I mean, that's like the best part, is because there's always a segment that's just not happy. And I'm just like, I love it. Like every time we win, I am happy as can be. I'm like, this is great. Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can learn. Like when we hired Chip Kelly last year, I was like, this is the greatest hire in school history. We literally have Chip Kelly leaving UCLA as a head coach. He's leaving Manhattan Beach, California, the sunny, beautiful shores of California, to come to Ohio and be our offensive coordinator. He's taking a step down from being a Big Ten head coach to staying in conference and becoming our coordinator. And there were people that didn't like that move. Nope, no good. Can't do it.
Games passing by.
I was like, I watched all of his UCLA film from the year before, and I was like, his scheme is amazing. His players were not amazing, but his scheme was really good. I was like,
think about Chip's trajectory. He goes from UCLA head coach to Ohio State coordinator to highest paid coordinator in the NFL in the history of the league. I mean, could you get a better endorsement of the guy's skills and how highly regarded he is in his craft? I mean, come on.
Well, and the funny thing about that is like he, it wasn't like he became the highest paid coach by 50 grand. I mean, he by like 2 million, like he went to $6 million. I mean, that'd be like if Ryan Day went from making 12 million to like 30 million or something. Like you'd be like, that's a pretty nice jump. Like, I don't know if you need to do that, but that's what the Las Vegas Raiders thought of him. That's what Pete Carroll is one of the greatest coaches in the history of football. He won a national title and he won a Super Bowl. He's one of like, I don't know how, there's less than 5 or 10 guys that have ever done that. And he said, I want this guy who I used to go against when he was at Oregon and I was at USC. I want him to be my coordinator. And Chip's like, you get to go live in Vegas, make $6 million a year. Let's go, baby. Dagestan Poppy on line 1. All right. Let's get some of these super chats going. Triple S podcast. Thank you for the 14. If you are, I'm not sure what Triple S is, but if you guys are on here, make sure you guys subscribe to that. If it's something we can help you guys out with, I appreciate you, my dude. OG Walt mentioned Jermaine Matthews when he was asked about the slot nickel dime. I interpret that to mean he's capable and maybe the third best corner. Isn't Styles, but another outside guy like Sanchez. See, that's an interesting take because obviously they're going to work to get the 3 best guys on the field. If they do the nickel, the 3 high safety stuff that we did last year a lot. And does Jermaine move inside? Does Davison move inside? Because Devin Sanchez got play. You know, and if you've got a freshman with ridiculous man-to-man cover skills like Devin Sanchez, like, do you get him on the field? Do you get him rolling? Do you get him, get him? I think playing corner from a learning the playbook and, you know, whatever is very simple to do. Now, the practicality of it is it's the hardest position on the field to play because you're on an island. It's you versus JJ Smith. You have no help and good luck. And if you screw up, it's just a 70-yard touchdown. No biggie. But if you're a super talented kid and you can hang out there and play man, then maybe you move it, a guy like Jermaine into nickel. I think that, you know, there's a lot of, the way the NFL plays nickel, man, if a guy can play nickel and corner, I think that versatility is a huge add. You think Brian Branch and some of these guys that have come into the league recently for the Lions, like you get a lot of run if you can play nickel, because nickel is like it's basically like you're playing linebacker with the run fits, you're inside, the crossing routes. I mean, it's no different than when we used to play Darren Lee at like Sam linebacker walked out. That nickel's out there, and I mean, he's got to be ready to fill on the run. You know, when you're that outside corner, I mean, obviously they want you to tackle, but you're not in the mix like a nickel is. A nickel's got to be ready to roll. So I'd try Jermaine there. And again, if Devin Sanchez, again, I'm sure in their dream, if they're trying to get the most talent, because again, the defensive backfield, when you're starting 5 guys, the 2 safeties, the nickel, and the 2 corners, it's a lot like the offensive line. You know, there's a lot of guys that can play different spots, and what is the best combination of 5 that you can create doing it? So that's on, it's on Tim Moulton, it's on Matt Greer, it's on Matt Patricia to figure that out. So again, you don't just let a guy say, well, you're just a corner, you're just this, you're just that, because if the third corner is better than the first nickel, then you got to figure out if one of the first 3 corners can play nickel, and that could happen. So again, that's the exciting part about spring ball, is that you can challenge some guys, because you're not getting ready to play Texas like this week. You're not doing that till after spring, get into summer, get into fall camp. But you're not going to be running stuff to get ready for the Texas Longhorns. Right now is when you can figure out who you can play at different positions, and who can install it. Because again, like, maybe Jermaine could play nickel. I mean, he's got the attitude. I mean, we got some very talkative corners. Again, like, they're physical and they're tough, and you got to be tough to play nickel. Nickel is not for the faint of, like Deion Sanders, who's the greatest corner that ever lived. I don't think he'd be in love with playing nickel just because he's going to be in there. They're going to be running a toss sweep at Deion at nickel about every single player, running option at him and saying, hey, come hit our running back. And he's not really about that life, in case you guys didn't get that. Nevada, your thoughts? Again, this is a fantastic and astute thing. And I do remember Tim Moulton saying this. Triple S podcast, again, I appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the 14. Says OG Walt mentioned Jermaine Matthews when he was asked about the slot nickel dime. I interpret that to mean he's capable, and maybe the third best cornerback isn't Styles, but it could be another outside guy like Sanchez. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, like you said, they just have so many options. I mean, you look at the safeties, and you've got obviously, Caleb and Hartford and McLean, who we're really high on. And then, you go to Davison and Jermaine Matthews and Low Styles and Bryce West. And then you've got the fabulous freshman and Devin Sanchez. I mean, you've got a lot of guys that can play. And I think your point's exactly right. It is like the offensive line. Just find your 5 best. And regardless of position, I mean, some people feel like Davison's, better better suited to play safety at the next level. So maybe he's the guy that slides in there. Maybe you move somebody else outside when you're doing. I think there's going to be all sorts of different combinations. But we have some really talented kids, and for fun, I'm telling you, you should go back and look at the 2023 recruiting class that we signed. That's a really productive class. There's a lot of really good players. Sometimes you look at a class and you're like trying to find guys that have started or played or whatever, and you're having trouble finding names. 2023, there's a lot of dudes on that class that are already kind of making noise here on the for the Ohio State team, and that class has only been here 1 year. But a lot of good kids in there, lots of good options on the defensive backs and safeties, and that's going to be one of the fun things to see what Patricia does.
All right, this is a good one, Nevada. Dave Mathis, thanks for being an ultra member. Appreciate you being on here every night, brother. Thanks for the deuce. Ooh, this is a tough one. There's no chance in the universe, but I'm gonna try it. Dave, thanks for the deuce, and thanks for being an ultra member. He says, "Is Will Howard on the Mount Rushmore for Ohio State football? Go Bucks, OHIO." There's absolutely no chance that he's on the Mount Rushmore. He's dreamy and he looks like a gigantic Justin Bieber or Mr. Beast, or he's one of the two. And he does everything right. And I love the kid to death, but there's no chance. The Mount Rushmore.
Okay. How about Mount Rushmore of OSU quarterbacks?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's gotta be
him and Troy. And then I don't know, CJ Fields, Dwayne, Art. I mean, you can't put Art Schleister on there because he's a turd. But he has a second pick in the draft. I mean, are you doing it based on Ohio State? Doing it based on the NFL? Are you doing it based on all football? It's so hard. JT Barrett. I mean,
yeah, I know. Yeah,
it really depends on if the NFL counts or not. If the NFL doesn't count, I mean, because if you're in Nebraska and you do there, I mean, obviously you'd think Tommy Frazier would be on it, but if our fan base was Nebraska's fan base, they'd probably say Tommy Frazier sucked because he didn't play in the NFL. And I'm like, well, he almost won the Heisman, and they were like the most dominating team ever in 94, 95. But I don't know. Like, I mean, it really depends on if you count coaches. Because like on the Mount Rushmore, obviously Archie is on it, Orlando's on it. I mean, those two are locks. And then you've got the Heisman. You got like Chick Harley. I mean, obviously you got to go with. I mean, we have almost Heisman.
Chick Harley. I love it. You make the Chick Harley reference. This is awesome. Somebody mark this down. March 16, 20. Because Chick Harley played that back in like 1904, and nobody knows anything about Chick Harley other than like Fields won and like a bunch of OSU historians, and we don't even know how good the football was back then.
Well, it was terrible, I'm sure. Like, I mean, like honestly, like it's like when Michigan says that they've got like 5,000 more wins. I'm like, well, anything pre-integration doesn't count to me, because I'm like, so you're not playing against the best athletes. So if you're playing against a bunch of little white post office postal clerks, is like, wow, you guys are so good. I'm like, because like pre-integration, none of it counts to me. So, but so I'll say. You could put Bill Willis could be on there. And again, I go, okay, so if they're obviously All-Americans at Ohio State, College Football Hall of Fame, Bill Willis is in the NFL Hall of Fame as well. Jim Parker is in the same boat where he's in the College Football and in the NFL Hall of Fame. Like, Chris Carter's in that. I mean, I don't... It's hard. I mean, to me, Pace and Archie are locks. Eddie, I mean, I love Eddie, but he really had the one huge season where he obviously won the Heisman. But
yeah, Eddie does not make it. Eddie does not make it.
Yeah, I mean,
Spielman
could make it, but do you take him over a Heisman winner?
Well, just because he played defense, so he can. I mean, Spielman was so good from his freshman year. Just everything about him was like Ohio football, from the Wheaties box. And even though he played at the wrong Massillon, you know what I'm saying? Like that was...
Hey, shout out Massillon Perry, baby. We made the state championship in basketball today, baby. Let's go.
I love that.
State championship in basketball. Dude, my high school basketball team legitimately is like 500 now. they're like 12-13 or 13-13 on the season, and they've been on this incredible run where they're literally playing in the Division II state championship. So shout
are you
out
going
to
to go to
PTO.
are you going to go to the game and wear your old jersey or something like that? That'd be awesome if you did that.
I was gonna go and wear your old jersey, wear your old baseball jersey, your old baseball thing. He sent it to me. It's not gonna fit me. I'd have to wear it like over my neck or something. But
Well, that's the
I'll
problem
wear
with
it as a
basketball stuff.
headband.
Like hockey jerseys you can wear. Like old guys can wear hockey jerseys the game, or even football. You can wear a football jersey, but nobody looks good in a basketball uniform. Nobody looks good in a basketball uniform.
Well, yeah,
So
especially when you're not playing. Like you can't go wear a basketball jersey, like
no,
no
I'm thinking about
sleeves.
from a merchandise standpoint, they kind of screwed themselves. You know, so like, cause like who can buy like basketball jerseys and wear them? Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see
you
Kirk
just
Barton in
can't
a basketball
jersey. You can't like look cool wearing like an NBA jersey, like with no undershirt. You're just like nobody wants to see that. You know, it's like
you look like Jackie Moon out there with your little shorts.
No, exactly. That's exactly. It's like I don't want to go with the Jackie Moon look.
Were you a headband when you played? Did you headband or no headband?
No, I'm not wearing a headband. Are you crazy? God, like how big of a douchebag do you have to be to wear a headband?
I can see you with like a red, white, blue headband, and like
Chris
red,
Gatling.
white, blue,
like Cliff Robinson's the only guy that could pull off a headband when he was with the Blazers. He was legit. But like, I honestly like. I think there was like that headband phase, like when LeBron did it at St. V in the beginning of the NBA. But like that all died. Like now, like nobody wears headbands anymore.
Low socks or high socks? Were you low socks or
low
high
socks? Always.
Low
I hate high socks.
Okay.
Let the Cavs breathe, baby. I do love Justin. Justin Fields.
Hold on. Huh. Last question. Were you like one leg? Did you do the Angel Reese thing with the one leg thing or or both leg thing? I can see you in like one leg. You love Angel Reese. Tell the truth.
One leg and one brain cell. One smooth brain. Angel Reese. She's like, we're gonna walk out if you don't pay us more. I was like, go. As long as we got Caitlin, man. Angel Reese is like I mean, there is nobody that thinks that they're more important, that's less important than Angel Reese. It's amazing. She's like,
do you think it's a shtick? Do you think it's a shtick? Do you think she realizes she's just?
I don't know, man. She fooled McDonald's, man. I'm gonna have to be team Burger King or team I'm team Five Guys forever now. Yeah. But no, she literally thinks that she's as valuable as Caitlin Clark, and I'm like, dude, Caitlin Clark sells out every arena she goes into, and like. She's good. She ain't that good. But I mean, like, Angel Reese is just like, I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, they're here to see me.
I think she's playing the heel. I think she's got to be shtick because nobody can be that stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be good for her. Like, hey, you be the, you know, you won the national title at LSU, and you be the bad hat.
You're not the baby face. She's the baby face.
You be the Pistons. You be Rodman and Lambeer. Yeah,
exactly.
You're not as talented. You're not as good, but you can be just as beloved, just in a different weird way. You know, like the bad boys weren't as good as the Bulls, but they were beloved because they were bad. You know, Justin Fields' Mount Rushmore was amazing because this is like straight, you know, millennial message board. He picked Ezekiel Elliott, Troy Smith, Ted Ginn Jr., and Eddie George. I was like, did he never walk down the hallway of the Woody Hayes that has all the big trophies? Like,
Justin, the Ohio State football started in 2005.
Jesus. Man. But I mean, like the inarguables are Pace and Archie, and then after that, it's like, I mean, if I went Bill Willis and Jim Parker or something, or I mean, Hicksy came in second on the Heisman, or you just pick all Heisman winners and say, okay, Horvath and Janowitz and Chick Harley and whoever, you know, Troy. I mean, you could put Troy on there. I don't know. But it's like, if you're the only Heisman winning quarterback in Big Ten history, and the Big Ten's had Breeze and Brady and all these other guys, like, I don't know. So
I don't think Chick Harley won a Heisman.
Oh, he didn't? My bad.
I think it was before. I think the Heisman didn't start when he was playing. That's how early he played. He was the guy that built. He was the one that built Ohio Stadium for Chick Harley.
The house that Jerry built.
The house that Chick Jerry.
Okay, so Okay, so Hoplaw and Cassidy is one that I forgot. Janowitz, Horvath, Hoplaw and Cassidy, Archie, Eddie, Troy. There you go. Okay, so Chick is stricken. Chick is off the record.
He's off.
We're done.
Chick is off.
We're done. But it's like it'd be hard for me to pick any of those guys over Eddie. You know, if they all won one Heisman. I don't know.
Eddie, I remember Eddie fumbling as a freshman, cost me a big bet against Illinois. He fumbled twice inside the 5-yard line. I'll never forgive him for that.
Did you know that Hoplaw and Cassidy played defensive back?
Yeah,
and running
he played
back?
both ways. Yeah, great player.
And baseball too.
Did not know that.
I did not know that. There you go. There's your Mount Rushmore in case you need a 3-hole hitter in the baseball team. All right. Sergio Salma, thanks for the deuce. Hope you're doing good, my friend. Are the Buckeyes going to the White House? Ooh, that is a great question. I have not heard either way. I mean, I would imagine they will because, like,
100%. Yeah, that'll 100% happen. For sure.
That'll happen. It's just like it's just weird, like with the timing, because like the draft. They've got pro day coming up, obviously, and then the draft is coming. Because you got to kind of get all the kids, kind of cobbled together for one last airplane ride, or I don't know if they have the kids fly out separate or what they do, but if the whole team gets together and gets on the same plane, or if just the active roster guys go, I don't know. I'm sure they'll go. I mean, it's, again, like you want to go, you want to get the photo, Urban had a photo with him and Obama in the office, and he loved that for recruiting. So, Ryan can take his photo with Trump and hold it up in the office. And do you guys want to go to the White House and do the thing? Then let's go do it. Because I just think that that's such a cool opportunity. Because like you'll never get that kind of access again. So it's always like dumb when these teams turn that down. Like, why would you turn down going to the White House? You'll never get to go take a tour, get some history. And it's one day. It's not that big of a commitment. You're there for like 2 hours. Have lunch and head home. So.
Hey, did Zach Smith ever go to the White House?
Zach did. Zach very famously did. So but it's like I've read a lot. I mean, that was probably like in the 10 million things of freaky things that have happened in the White House. I mean, there's been way more freakier things that have gone on in that building. So I don't think that it mattered. But hey, it's like. He took it. I mean, I just
something to remember.
I mean, like I said, you're probably never going to get back. I mean, you're probably never going to get back there again. I mean, if you go as a championship team, it's like
that was one and done.
Yeah, and that's all. I mean, it's almost some more. I mean, unless you're going to be like back-to-back champions, but it'll be exciting to see those guys roll in there and have a good time. All right, Nevada, I think we can wrap this thing up. Nice 80-minute show tonight. Very good one. On Spring Ball Eve, any final thoughts as we wrap the show up?
Yeah, no, the battles of Spring Ball will be here. We'll have a front row seat, and we'll get the inside for you guys. So spring football starts tomorrow. We can officially turn the page from 2024 to 2025. We are in the 2025 season, and let's go. So we'll talk tomorrow night.
Yeah, I cannot wait, and I appreciate you guys being a huge part of our show and our community. If you guys enjoy content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Be back in tomorrow at 7:10, ready to roll. Excited to see you guys. So as always, if you guys want to help us out in a huge way, get on the podcast app inside of your Apple iPhone or your iPad, type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe, and help us out. Leave us a 5-star review as well. Leave some nice comments. We will appreciate you guys forever. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 7:10. Go Bucks.